Okay, let's just jump right in. We talk a lot about the future of work, right? But what about the future of learning? I mean, how are we actually supposed to prepare today's students for a professional world that is changing faster than ever? It's honestly one of the biggest challenges education is facing today.
And this isn't some abstract problem for way down the line. A 2023 survey found that a staggering 77% of employers are already having a hard time finding employees with the skills they need. That's more than 3 out of every 4 companies, right now, struggling to fill really important roles. But get this, here's the number that really makes you pause. It's estimated that 85% of the jobs that today's students will have by 2030, well, they don't even exist yet. Just let that sink in. We're getting an entire generation ready for a future that we can't even fully picture.
So, all of this brings us to the main issue here. What's being called the 2030 skills gap. It's this huge chasm between the abilities the workforce of tomorrow is going to need and the kind of training students are actually getting today.
And this skills gap isn't just about one kind of skill. Employers aren't only looking for technical know-how. They are also desperately looking for what we call soft skills. Things like self-discipline, real problem-solving chops, and sharp critical thinking. They need both the what and the how of getting work done. So, with a challenge this massive and global, where do you even start to look for solutions? Well, let's shift gears and look at a real-world example, how this is being tackled on the ground right now. We're going to head over to the Philippines. Here, the Department of Education has teamed up with Microsoft. Their goal? To boost language proficiency and reading fluency, because they know these are just fundamental, non-negotiable skills for anyone who wants to compete in a global economy.
And this quote just illustrates the connection so perfectly. As Schools Division Superintendent Adolf Aguilar says, it's not just about reading for reading's sake. It's about building a foundation that directly leads to future job opportunities. This tool becomes a bridge to a career, opening doors both at home and around the world.
And here's the impact you see in the classroom. Franco Gablinas, a first-grade teacher, calls the tool a catalyst. It's not just about practice, it's about lighting a spark. When kids get that immediate feedback and they can see their own progress, they feel a sense of ownership. And that confidence, that's the real game changer.
So the story in the Philippines is a really powerful example of what's possible. But the tools they're using, Reading Progress and Reading Coach, are actually part of a much bigger suite from Microsoft called Learning Accelerators. They're designed to build a whole range of future-ready skills. So let's check out the full toolkit. First up, a skill that's absolutely timeless, but maybe more important than ever. Clear, confident communication. Being able to present your ideas well is just a cornerstone of success, whether you're pitching a client or just updating your team. Okay, so how do you practice that? Well, Speaker Coach is the answer. It's kind of like having a personal presentation guide available 24/7. It gives students a totally safe space to rehearse and gives them instant, specific feedback on everything from saying too much to their pacing. The key is that it builds confidence using data, not just blind repetition, so you're actually ready for that high-stakes job interview. All right, next up is a big one. In this age of just constant information overload, being able to think critically and analyze where that info's coming from, that's not optional anymore. It's basically a survival skill. And that's where Search Coach comes in. It doesn't just hand students answers, it teaches them how to ask better questions and how to spot the difference between a reliable source and, misinformation. It's building the kind of digital literacy you need to be, say, a researcher who can find good data fast, or a manager who can tell when something's a scam. Now for a skill that really supports all the others, social-emotional learning. Future success isn't just about what you know, it's about how you manage yourself, your stress, and how you interact with other people. The tool for this is called Reflect. It helps students identify and actually put a name to their emotions, a skill that's known as emotional granularity. And this matters because an employee who can recognize they're feeling anxious instead of just bad is way better equipped to manage that stress before a big deadline or to take tough feedback without getting defensive. It really builds resilience. And look, the toolkit doesn't even stop there. You've got tools like Math Assistant for problem solving, Make Code for learning how to code, and Minecraft Education for collaboration and creative thinking. The whole goal is to give them a really comprehensive set of resources to build a whole range of skills. So when you start putting all these different pieces together, what do you get? You get a real strategy, not just to patch up the skills gap, but to truly empower students for a lifetime of learning and adapting to whatever comes next. So let's circle all the way back to that fundamental challenge we started with. How on earth do you prepare students for jobs that haven't even been invented?
Well, the solution seems to be equipping them with these durable, adaptable skills like communication, critical thinking, and emotional resilience that are going to help them no matter what the future looks like.
Which leaves us with one final question. In a world that's constantly changing, where technology is speeding up skill development in ways we've never seen, what do you think is the single most important skill to teach the next generation? Maybe it's not a skill at all, but a mindset, the ability and maybe even the excitement to just never stop learning.